Okay, welcome back. So, a couple things to note. We've changed just a little bit of things, so I wanted to show you, all the things that I've been working on in the background here. But for the most part, we're just going to pick up kind of where we left off. The first thing I wanted to show you was I did figure out what I was doing wrong with the, what was it called? SVG include files. So what we were doing is we were trying to put our SVGs into some, I'll show you right here. It was in this UI folder, and I've actually filled out, so I put the rest of them in there so you don't have to watch me do that. But basically, each of these just has our SVG tag right in there, and that way we can just include the correct file whenever we need to use that specific icon. And based on our mockups, we only need it in our main navigation. So I thought this was a perfect solution for this, especially because now we can control the fill colors with just CSS, since it's not in an image tag. When you put in an image tag with the source being a .svg file, suddenly you're a little bit blocked in what you can do for as far as customizing things pretty easily with CSS. So if it's actually rendered on the page as an SVG instead of through an image tag, that's when you get hangups. So, or that's when it makes it so much better, so much more flexible. And I like to use include statements because putting in all of that SVG code makes your files awful to work with. So that's the drawback, is you do want to have some kind of ability to do this. But here's how you actually do it. I can show you that this is actually working now. I think what I was missing was oh yes, I had to move the UI folder. So I had this outside of this includes folder. So I did move that inside of the includes folder. So now it's a subdirectory there. And then when you include that subdirectory right here, then it finally found it. So I'll show you what that looks like. I just threw it in this white background because you'll notice there's a little bit of difference in how the site looks based on these new changes that I've made throughout the week. So yeah, the background color is just so that you can see the icon. It really has nothing to do with anything. So I can actually just delete that and refresh. So now you can see here's what I've done in the meantime, is kind of setting this up so that it's a little bit easier to work with. You can see there's some text color issues, some contrast issues that we can work out today. And also the layout is a little bit different. So I have put in the main nav and the sub nav, and I'll show you that in just a second. But just so that we can get on the same page, here is our mockup. And so yeah, what I've done basically is I've put in the content, if you will, for this main nav, and then and I changed the body color to be our the variable that we set for this really dark blue. So we have our SVGs in there. We have our what's called topic header, and then I've also put in a count. I don't actually know that it's super accurate right now. I have not checked. It does look like the numbers are way too high for the amount of content that I have, because I have not put in all my content into this just yet. But I will fix that later. Again, this really, honestly, this isn't an 11D tutorial. This is supposed to be more focused on the design system aspect of it. But if you want, please let me know if you want to have some like video tutorials on 11D specifically. I'm happy to bust some of those out and not do a live stream specifically on 11D. But I'm happy to research some more on it, because it's not one that not a framework I'm super familiar with. So that's why I've done a lot of work on the back end here off air, so that we don't waste too much time. But yeah, so here's our refresher. I'm thinking we kind of work on this layout just a little bit. I'll go over and show you what has happened, and then we'll just dive right in and start busting out some of these cool components, maybe fixing some of the layout, like padding and all that stuff. So let's see where we can go with this. I'm super excited. So yeah, here's where we are. And yeah, let me show you what the new kind of grid system looks like, because I did have to change quite a few things. I actually also changed quite a few things just in my 11D source files, like moving some of my content inside of this resources so that I could have an easier time with the navigation, because I do want this. Honestly, looking at this now, there are some potential SEO pitfalls that I've come into, but we'll work with it and see if we can figure this out. But basically, it is kind of weird to have a topic nav, if you will, that far left navigation, and then the sub nav, which should have all of these inside of it. Right now, it's pushing it to the right. We'll take a look and see what we can do there. But yeah, it's just kind of weird to have like this. Anyway, so then if I click on this, then that should have been our topic. Here's our sub nav list right here. And then if I go here, here's our content. So it is kind of strange. I'm already at /resources/tips/responsive URLs, which is this page. So it's interesting. But hey, this is for fun, and we're just gonna keep on going. Even if the experience is maybe a little bit strange, I am gonna have to figure out some like list pages, if you will. So if I go back, this technically would just be these two right here, these two on the left, and so then there's nothing on the right in this white space. So I got to figure that out. I got to maybe have some content that talks about just resources or just the quick tips. Maybe just like here's some basic things that you'll find. Use the nav on the left to find those quick tips. So if they haven't chosen one of these, it needs some kind of page for that landing page. Otherwise, I think it's going to be kind of weird. And also what happens if you go out to the inbox or to home, like what does home look like? So that's also kind of a weird issue with this, because in inbox is more of an app type of site structure anyway, so it's not super geared toward SEO. So that I did kind of box myself in with this design, but I'll stop rambling about that. So now that we know the pitfalls of this specific design, let's just bust it out, because I think it's super cool still. So yeah, we've got some structural changes. I did add some things to like the front matter. Again, not an 11D tutorial, but just so that you can see. Let's see where to go. I think it was, yeah, I added this sub collection thing. So each page that was like quick tips or troubleshooting or tutorials, those main topic on the far left, they all had a little collection of sub categories, these tips or tutorials. And so I'm popping this out now and making this a sub collection in the front matter. The reason why we do that is because if we go to the resources page, then we can go through and dynamically grab that. That's what I needed for the count, so that we could have something that if I go out to our resources. So the reason I'm getting these counts is because of that sub collection data that I've now added to the front matter. So hopefully that'll actually make things easier to loop through as well a little bit down the line, as we're kind of going from, we've got this on, we've chosen resources, there's 3 of them. It's going to loop through that sub collection and give us these lists here. And then it also should correlate, obviously the count should correlate with how many are actually in this. So anyway, that is, I think, the majority of our like structure changes as far as 11D goes. Yes. And oh, and the other thing, I forgot to show you this too. Super cool. This is how I've gotten the icon to work. I'm going to switch over to code. So right here, you can see there's also now an icon for these major topics. So these ones that are not inside of this tips folder, these ones are our main topics in that main nav on the far left. And so I'm grabbing the icon dynamically so that we don't have to figure out another way to assign the correct icon. And that's how we were able to go like this. So Quick Tips knows it's using this little light bulb icon because that's what I set as the icon in the front matter. So I don't know if I showed you that very well right here. Just in case you're interested, that's all of this right here. So I'm saying if our page that we're working with in our for loop, if that page has the icon in the front matter, then go ahead and throw that in an include, and this will be replaced with whatever that URL was or that path was inside of icon. So that's kind of how I did that. Let's go ahead and crack open our inbox layout. So we used to, I had grid as the main layout in our Sass files here, but I've commented that out and I've started a new one just called inbox so that I didn't destroy all the work that we did before. But now we can just put all of our layout pieces inside of this inbox themed, if you will, layout file. So this is kind of a little bit different. For the most part, the nav and the footer, those are going to be the same because I just want, the nav up top, the footer on the bottom, and then we've got our main piece. But what I did do is I switched over to Flex. I'm a little bit more comfortable with Flex than Grid. Definitely way more comfortable than with Grid. So what I've done is I've created a little bit of new structures just so that we can play around with Flex a little bit easier. So we've got our container just like before, we've got our main just like before, but now I've got nav, our main nav, our sub nav, and then the body content, which should correlate to these three sections. You see the main nav, the topic nav, the sub nav, and then our body content. So that's where we're at. Looking here, I do know that this should actually be rendered in a different spot, but I did get this started a little bit because so the background, like I said earlier, of our whole site is going to be that dark blue, and then you can see the sub nav is pulling in that somewhat lighter blue, and then we'll need to add a white for our main content, or our body content, I should say. So let's tackle this really fast and see if I can get the so right now, so these are just include files. Probably not my best. I probably should put the nav inside of the include files, but I was really just trying to get this up and running for us as quick as possible. So then what I'm gonna do here is I want that, let's see, this resources list, this needs to live inside of our topic nav file. So I think I can actually just grab all of this. We'll just copy it for now, come back later and throw it away. Let's go into our includes. We've got our nav, and let's just replace it like that. Go back over here. Cool. So now it's in the right spot as far as our content, and then I can get rid of that last piece that I had copied just in case I messed it up. So now we can get rid of all of this. Oops. no, like that. And that's pretty cool actually. So we clean that file up really well. Then our subnav, if I'm gonna just cheat a little bit and just go straight into quick tips. Okay, cool. So that is kind of what I was trying to explain earlier, was how there's kind of like a weird experience where normally on a website, you know, there should be something here. There we go. There should be some content here, and there kind of is, but it's weird because we go to quick tips and then suddenly we have a subnav and we still don't have any content. So that's the only weird thing about this design. So let's pop this over into our subnav folder. Ooh, actually, I don't know how we're going to do that. Let's try this out. Okay, so this is where, yeah, we're getting our first little, maybe it's not as crazy as I'm thinking. So quick tips. Okay, so it's not nearly, it scared me for a second. So let's grab all of this. I'm gonna cut this actually and delete all of this, and then I'm gonna go up to our subnav. Ooh, yeah, it is gonna be more complicated than that, I'm thinking. So we're gonna have to do some magic on the back end to figure this out, because right now we're not gonna be able to see the subnav for like troubleshooting, because all of this is the same as the quick tips, because I've now hard coded it. So that'll be something I'll have to figure out on my own time. There's my homework already for the live stream. But let's just play with the styles. Again, this is more focused on the styles anyway. So our quick tips, we've got our subnav populated now, and then if I click on this, then we've got our content. And again, it's super hard because I didn't change the text color at all. So actually, that's kind of encouraging. So I'm kind of, yeah, I'm okay with where we're at, even though there's some jankiness to our code base now. Now we've got at least something to kind of work with. So if I pop back over to our layout. So, yeah, I've got our, where'd it go? Oh, I'm in grid. I don't want this anymore. Okay. We want inbox. So we've got our three, subsections or sections, if you will. We can now assign our colors to them so that it'll be a little bit easier to tell. So actually what I wanted to show you was how we got those colors to work, because I know that was, I think, our last issue with the last live stream. So we've got our variables with our colors, right? I know that I need to get that content section on the far right to be white so that we can actually see our text. So I'm going to grab this variable, but we were running into problems with not being able to use this anywhere else, kept getting problems with it. So here is how you solve that. Is I totally forgot. I forgot, first of all, you have to have a relative path up here, and you have to namespace it, since we're not using the import, which is technically deprecated and we should technically stop using it, even though I certainly am using it in professional settings, and it's probably a bad practice. So I'm trying to break myself of this practice and using the correct what are they called? Statements, import statements. So no longer import, but it's at use. And so this is what I was missing that time. So now that we know this, I'm going to go into our body and I'm going to set our background color. I'm going to paste in that this is our that's our variable, but we also need to make sure we grab our use statement, put it at the top. And I have set it so that we're going to put all of our variables in the var namespace. So what that means is I'm going to go down back to our variable, and the only thing we have to do now is just put var dot at the very beginning, and hopefully this should reset us for, there we go. It's now showing the white, so now we can actually see our content. This is super awesome, and we fixed our problem from last time. So yeah, this is kind of cool. I mean, it's already, like, it's kind of there already, so that's really encouraging. Let's just take a look really fast at our mockup. So let's put in our hover states, and yeah, and then we can start to kind of work on, I almost am tempted to go right to left just because I feel like this is going to be an easier section to tackle right away. So let's do hover states and then maybe tackle this content section. So if we go back to our code, what we need to do is we're going to go back to our nav components, and yeah, so I don't actually need this anymore, so I'll clean that up. And yeah, okay, so here's that SVG. So if we look at our back in our mockup, we do have an SVG change the fill when the nav item is active. And so I've already stubbed in those classes, but what I'm showing, let me show you that. So if you'll notice, troubleshooting, this guy and all of the normal, icons, they're all this other color. But as soon as it's active, meaning I've clicked on resources at some point, it's going to be this lighter, almost white. It's like barely blue. And so what I've done is I have used our little system of what are they called? Variables, and so I've filled those in so that they're ready. The only thing left is now to add this active class to our nav item when it is selected. So if we go back here, we know that we're working with quick tips. And so, yes, let me, how are we going to do that? I might have to figure that one out as well. Yeah, so I wonder if there's some way to do this kind of dynamically. That's a good question. I'm not sure. Oh, you know what? I could probably do some kind of if statement, but I'm not familiar enough with 11 to figure that out. So let's just throw it on the first one. So I'm gonna hard code this. I don't actually even know if you can do this, but you can in Django, and the templating system is fairly similar. Like there's some overlap. So if, yeah, okay, if, I don't know, can I do this for loop dot first? Then we'll put in the active, and then we'll end our if statement. So I have no idea if this is going to work, so let's save it and see. It does not appear to have worked, but let's check it out. Oh, it did work. No way. That's kind of cool. Did not do what I expected. Oh, but you know what? I need to refresh this. So maybe that will... Nope, still didn't work. Okay, well, still, you can see nav item for troubleshooting guides is just nav item in the class, but up here in quick tips, if we inspect specifically that one, you can see it was the first item in the for loop, and it does have the active class, which that's perfect. Oh, but I need the, okay, so the only issue, okay, so SVG precedes it though, so that means we can just modify our class just slightly so that it picks that up when it is active. So if I go back here to navs, so then if the nav item is active and it is, I think it's, let's see. Oh, okay. Ooh, this makes things interesting. Because we could use has pseudo element, or is it pseudo element? I don't think it's pseudo. The has selector, because we could say SVG colon has, and then wrap all of this in parentheses, and then I think we want plus. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what we would want. Let's check it. See if that worked. Does not. Oh, it did. There it goes. Okay, so now it's, you can see it's lighter than before up here on the top left. So that is working. I honestly have no problem with has. It is not perfectly supported, but honestly, since this is kind of my own personal project, I might just go with it because that makes it really easy. The only other way that I could think of is we could do, if we wanted to get rid of the has, we could still do switch the order basically. I think let's just do it. So I'm gonna put SVG at the end of this statement. I'll still do the plus, but right now this isn't gonna work because the order of our HTML is not gonna be like this at all. So the other thing that we would have to do is create is use the order what's it called, attribute in Flex, and I think we could still accomplish this. So we could say order is 2, I think, and then nav item, oops, come on, nav item, I need a class selector there. We're gonna say order is 1, I think, and I'm pretty sure. So what I'm doing is I'm using Flex to manipulate the order of our oh, and I don't know what I'm doing here. So this is already the order it is in. So basically what I'm saying is since currently our SVG is here and then it's here, the title, that's how it is in the HTML. And if you want to select the parent, or the I guess the sibling in this case, since it's before this one, there's nothing that we can really do to target this first element. But if we switch the order in the HTML, so basically swapping these places in the structure, but then swapping the order using Flex CSS, then we might still be able to access the SVG when it's followed by, or when it's preceded by the active nav item. So if I can even explain this correctly, let's check this out. So I have let's see, this is in the nav. So right now this is the icon, right? So we're gonna pop this out and then swap it here. So if I save, we hopefully will see everything's broken. Yep, so now we've switched the order. We have our title, our link title first, and then we have our SVG. And then I just need to put a display of flex, I believe, on each of, let's see. Yeah, I think I just need the LIs to be a display of flex. So let's try it out on this. Display, flex, maybe. Order, oh, this still didn't pick up that change, so let's change this to like 3 or something. So yeah, once we've got the display of flex in there, then we can oh man, but anyway, so we're letting flex determine the visual order. So what we see is the order is you know, first our icon, then our link. Even though in the structure of the HTML, if we'd go down here, we can see the link is actually first and then the SVG. Yeah, and then we still want the count to be at the end, so we'll have to account for that. So basically, that's one way to go around the has browser compatibility issue with this case, is since we have access to our HTML, we can just do that. We'll just keep going with that because I feel like that's it's simple enough. I feel like that's compatible enough. So we also need to grab our count. Oh, so first we need to set if it's a nav and we've got our list item, that's going to be a display of flex. We also want the direction is fine. It's going to be a row automatically. That's correct. And then the last thing we need is to account for our ordering. So we want the SVG to be the very first thing. So I'm actually just going to set it as 0. Nav item, the link itself, because this is actually an A. I'll just put that there just to be more specific or more explicit. And then we also have a class of count. I can actually put this inside of the list item just so that it kind of stays together a little easier. We'll put an and in there. So if it's an LI and it has a class of count, then we're going to put that order as the very end, because if we go back to the mockup even, we can see that we've got our icon as order 0. This is order 1. I put order 3 for this, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. It just has to be the last or the greatest number of order values so that it pushes it all the way to the right. And let's double check our work. So I'm going to refresh the server and see if we can't get that. Okay, cool. So we are kind of in a better spot because now our count is on the same line because it was dropping down below it. So there we go. And now we've got an active, like when this is active, when it has an active class, it does change the SVG color. Obviously, I can't click around and make sure that works on other ones because I hard-coded the active class to be this first one, but we can expect that now. Actually, yeah, I guess we could just add it here and just see it change just to be super sure of ourselves. So if I add active to this other class, now it's working. We can see it's highlighting that SVG in a different color, which is perfect. So let's get our padding figured out because this is really, really hard to read right now. So let's go back to our navs, and I'm gonna say, okay, let's double check the mock-up here. So we've got a pretty large button, and honestly, I want all of this to be clickable. So I do think we should add the padding onto the link itself, not the LI itself, because the LI would not be clickable, and then like pretty much only this part would be clickable. Ooh, did I do that wrong? Maybe I want this. Okay. No, yeah, no, that's right. I think. So, yeah, I always mix this up. I'm pretty sure we can put the padding on the A tag. I might have to surround. Yeah, can you surround the link, the list item with an anchor tag? We're gonna have to double check this one. So maybe I will, yeah, just because if I put the padding here, it's gonna be, it's gonna push our SVG out basically, out of the clicking. So I do need to redo this. So I'm actually gonna get rid of the A because this will change pretty quick here. We're gonna put our padding on the LI itself. Yes, that's correct. And we'll just start off. I'm not totally sure. I'm not going to go measure this, but I think we could be pretty safe with like maybe a 1 rem padding on top, and actually probably on the sides, and then top on bottom would be like a 0.5 rem. So let's check this out, see what happened here. Refresh. It's looking a lot better. However, as you can see, yeah, you can't see my cursor in this screen, but if I'm hovering over the SVG like I am right now, you can't see it, but I'm hovering over the icon, nothing's happening. I can't click, and so we need to make this whole LI clickable. So that means I'm just gonna go back in to our nav, and I am going to change it so that the I'm going to make the anchor tag, I'm going to cut this, we're going to get rid of that. I'm going to put that surrounding our LI, and this way that whole section will be clickable. And I also want to make sure that this gets surrounded with, so our nav item, I think we want to take this class off of the anchor tag, and we're going to surround it. We're just going to do, I'm just going to do a div. And then I'm going to paste that class in there and surround that so that hopefully it kind of resets just a little bit. So we should be a little bit back where we started, but now I am hovering over the icon, the SVG, and it is highlighting the entire thing. It's picking up. So now that if I click on the SVG, it is going to that link. So that's really good. Cool. And we're still getting our hovering effects, so I think we're gonna be okay. That is a pretty large structure change, but yeah, yes, you can surround your LIs, and a lot of, honestly, I think it's any block level element, I think you can surround with anchor tags and still be like safe. So that's really cool, because that makes it for a much easier experience for people, a bigger target area to hit with your mouse, a lot easier. So let's get our hover state on. So right now it's just that blue, we're just changing the text color, but actually if you look at the mockup, we don't want the text color to change anymore. We're just going to use this highlighted area instead, and then when it's active, it's going to be this it's going to match this background here. So let's go grab our code. We're going to grab our nav, and then let's double check, where is it? I may have put some things in weird places. I I think I saw some nav stuff, yeah, in here, which it should not be. Oh, you know what? We're looking at the wrong thing anyway. So right now our links, the anchor tag is what's causing that hover effect. So what we need to do is go back to our nav here, and now I'm going to say the anchor tags inside of a nav. Ooh, yeah, now the color is just going to be the current color. This is kind of a cool, like, it basically inherits whatever the color is, the text color, I believe. So like if the color was set for the nav as like white, then it will use the current color, the current text color for this parent. And that should help with our hover state. So I'm going to change this to just hover. So let's see. Let me double check my work on that one just because. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now, yeah, we can see it's not changing the color. I am highlighting or hovering over it with my cursor, and we're seeing no change, which is perfect because we don't want our text color to change there. I wonder if I've got a link in one of these, just to double check. We may not. But that's all right. We should be safe though. Yeah, I don't think I have any other links anywhere else that we can get to easily. So that's okay though, because we're still working on the hover states of the navs specifically. So if I go back here, we've got this override in place. We now need the background color to change, but we want to do that on a specific nav because our topic nav, the one that's on the far left, is going to have a different active state and a different hover color. Actually, it's not a different hover color, but it will have a different active state than this subnav, because the subnav, it basically, the color of the active should always match the next section's background color. But I do think these are actually the same. That might be the same color as this one. Yep. Okay, so the hover color, that actually makes things really easy. That means that we can do the hover color the exact same on this generic nav. So if I'm just gonna look up that color, we can see it's blue 80 in our variables. I used Command Shift F to do a project find, so like a find and with all of the folders in my workspace in Visual Studio Code. Really nice feature. I always keep the regex on just in case, but it's not necessary in this one. So that way I can just quickly see which hex code does this correlate to. So I'm going to say our background color, when it's hovered, should be our blue 80, but we're going to do var because we're namespacing. We're going to do the $sign for our Sass variable, which is blue-80, and yeah, let's check it out. So I'm going to refresh. There we go. And I am not seeing this change, so let's double check. Current color, and let's turn on. So in hover, or sorry, in the dev tools down in the bottom right, you have this little dot or colon hover, colon HOV for hover, so we can choose a state specifically to test. And I'm on top of this one, and it does not. Oh, maybe I chose the wrong color. So it is saying it should be there, but you can't see it. So I might have chosen, let me double check. Maybe I chose the wrong body color. So let me go back over to our code. I'm gonna find this blue 100. Do we have a blue 100 variable anywhere? BG color body, cool. Let's check this out. We're gonna go through our chain here. Let's see. It says BG color body. Maybe it's just not enough contrast. Doesn't seem like it's working though. Well, there we go. Let's double check here. Oh, hey, you know what? I am seeing this. So in my subnav, this is working. So you can see it's changing the color there. It's really hard to see. Let's just change it to white just to even see if it's working on that other side. So if I go back to navs, we're going to change this. I'm just going to change it to straight up white. Then we're going to refresh here just to see if it's actually working at all. So it is totally working on the sub nav, but not on this other nav. So there must be something that's kind of messing with it. Oh, whoops. This hover. Weird. I wonder why that's not working here. So let's see. Nav. There's some kind of... Well, I don't know what's the deal here, but it is showing as you know, it is showing the white. It's hard to see in the bottom of the screen there, but it is showing white, or sorry, let me show you this. Yeah, it's showing white as our background color when it's on a hover state, even though it's not actually doing it in real life when I'm hovering over with my mouse. But it is doing it when I hover over the subnav. So I'll have to double check. I don't want to waste too much more time on that, but I'm going to switch back the background color, and I'll debug that offline here. But for now, at least one of our navs is getting the correct hover state, and then we can add our active state to the specific, come on, there we go, to our specific, oh, you know what, that's interesting. So yeah, we're gonna have to fix our subnav as well with that structure change that we did, but at least for now, I'm just gonna get the colors correct so you can see, and so with our subnav, we know that the active color is going to be white. And so if I say, yeah, our active, so I'll just assume that it's the same structure as above. Background color is var dot BG color body. Save. And again, we're not going to be able to see this without a little bit of hacking, so I am going to refresh, go back here, refresh. All right, so I'm going to inspect this. I'm going to force the active class to be on this, just so that we can see. And it is working almost. That is not the correct. Oh, I chose background color body. What I meant to do is BG color. We want content because that's the one on the right of it, not the left. So let's try that one more time. Refresh this and force an active class on this. Active. Cool. So now it is totally white, which matches the background color of what is supposed to be on the right. So there is a little bit of a padding issue. Obviously, it's not flush, which is, if we look at the mock-up here, we want this to be flush. So I do have some ideas. I might use a negative left margin to like pull this section, this whole area over and overlap, kind of like what I did here in Illustrator. We will figure that out on a different live stream, just because that's going to be a little bit more intensive. Just we're gonna see what we decide. I think that might be the easiest way to cover it up. Otherwise, we do have like a padding issue. So like right now it's like this. We've got some padding that we have to cover up, or at least margin, I should say. And so what do we do with this space? How do we make that so that it works? That's a great question. I do think the easiest will be pulling this section over to the left with a negative margin. So we'll see if that ends up happening. So we've got our hover state working. We've got our active state technically working. And the last thing I want to do is this active state here. And then we can jump in on our content really fast. So if our quick tips is active, then we want our we want a specific nav. So I think I called it, topic nav. We want that specific nav to, let me just double check I called it right. Oh, it's just topic. So yeah, it's nav with an ID of topic. That's when we want our anchor tag with an let's see, it's not active. Oh, you know what, that's also interesting. The hover state is going to be hover, but what do I do when it's active? I mean, I can do an active state. I just am not sure if that's the right approach. So we may change this as well. But let's set our yeah, it's not the right. That's not right at all. Because it's not just active. Like I've clicked on it and somehow left the link. Currently active. It's not another way to explain that. But what I want is when it is when the nav item is active. So yeah, I feel like I've done this wrong, because I think actually Bootstrap does it where the nav item class is actually on the LI, and that may be the reason why this isn't going to work very well for me. But let's just give it a shot. So yeah, it's not gonna be exactly what I was hoping for based on our structure, so I'll have to do a little bit more of that refactoring, but I'll do that offline so that it's not super boring for you. But yeah, let's set up our variables just so we can at least get kind of there. Oh, whoops, I need background color, and then we're gonna var is our namespace. The actual color that we want is the background color of our sub nav, because if we are on the far left nav, we want the active one to look the same as the sub nav. the one on the right. So let's save this, refresh, and go back to Chrome. Refresh here. Okay, cool. You can actually see it up on the quick tips. So obviously right now it's not correct. What I've done is I put the nav item. Oops, I'm on the wrong. Here we go. So right now I had put nav item surrounding the text itself, just so we could get that ordering correctly. But now this is where it's showing it as an issue. Since our LI has the padding on it, that's also what we want to have the background change, and also, you know, the active to be on there. So really what we need is these classes to be moved up onto our LI so that it does capture that full piece. So like if I go back to this whole thing is our LI because it has the padding. It should have the background color change, and it should have that active class added when it is chosen. So that's gonna be something I'm gonna have to refactor. So we're probably gonna just change it so like we probably don't even need it. Well, yeah, we could just do div and change that in the CSS. But I like to be a little bit more explicit than that. So I'll probably just change this to be like nav title, and that way we can preserve that ordering that we did earlier on in the live stream. And that way we can still grab this whole thing as a highlight. So I will take care of that. I'll also double check this contrast may not be good enough. It is already kind of hard to see on the mockup, but it's definitely not showing. So I'm not sure if that's my contrast with the screen that I'm on for the Chrome. So I'll double check that. That may have to change as well. But while we're here, let's just hurry and bust this out, this content section, and make this a little bit cleaner than it is right now, because right now it's you know, there's no padding, there's nothing there, so it's pretty messy. So let's grab that really fast, and I think I might actually honestly I'm wanting to pull this out as like another partial. So I might actually just do that. The question is it a component or is it layout? I think it's a layout. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a layout. So let's open up a brand new partial here. I'm gonna call this our I think I called it body as the whoops, body.scss, so that it kind of matches that naming convention. And then the last thing that we'll do just really fast to set it up is to make sure we forward it, because we want to capture that in our styles, so that it actually takes in, you know, stuff we put in here actually gets added to our Sass styles down here. So the body class is what we're working with. This probably should be where that let's pull it out of here. So I think down, do I have a body? Yep. So oh, did I not, where did I put the, there we go, background color. So we don't want the background color in the inbox layout. I think I'm gonna extract that, and we're gonna put it up here instead. And this also is a great time to remember that we need to pull out our use statement, so make sure we can use our variables. So I'm gonna save, and then the other thing is we want to put in some padding on this. It's actually pretty substantial in the mockup, so I'll do like 5 rem just to start. That might not be enough technically, but I also want to work on, I want to work on the layout just a little bit more so that it's responsive and that's going to be something that we're going to tackle later on a different live stream. So if I refresh, there we go. So that is matching, sort of. If we look here, it's got the gist of what we're going for, like having some really nice clean white space around it so that we can really focus on the content, especially with this unique navigation. I feel like it definitely needs this extra white space to help us really focus, kind of like email does anyway, at least decent ones that you want to read. The email app is going to have some good white space around that content. Yeah, and now we can see our content a lot better. So if I go to maybe a different page here, we can see this is a lot easier to read than it was before. We are squishing our nav, of course. Like I said, I want this to be a little bit more a little bit better responsive. I'm gonna have to figure out how to handle longer titles, which the mockup definitely does not account for. So in this one, it's got that pretty, your classic designer who's like, oh yeah, it looks so nice when it's all on one line. But guess what? Titles are not one word titles, almost never, especially when you add in SEO to the mix. So this is going to be a real life thing that we have to figure out in one of our next live streams. So that's fun. We've got our padding nice. Honestly, we're pretty much in a good spot with this. I do have like this little let me go back here. I do have this little indicator of like which topic we're on, so that there's just a little bit of continuity, so that if you were on troubleshooting or resources, these are obviously fake, but if you're on any of these other pages, you still know that the main topic here is resources, or it is video tutorials, which match this side nav right here, this main nav. So there is that. We can go ahead. I think we can still tackle that. Let's go ahead and throw that on. I may not do the icon just yet, but let's do this little kicker right here. Just because I don't have the content structured just yet for that. I don't believe. So let me double check. I guess on our content, we could just add a little, I wonder, yeah, this is why I wasn't totally sure. We can just, let's just hard code it for now. I'm going to call it kicker because that's what it is in editorial design. That's what that little piece above your like headline would be called. And so I'll just put resources there for now, and let's make sure that actually gets placed in the right place. Whoops, Chrome. Yeah, there we go. Oh, maybe you weren't seeing that. So anyway, I've hard-coded resources now right here in our content, and I've given it a class of kicker, which is the important part. So I'm going to grab that, and we're going to go back into our content, or our body. Yeah, and let's throw in our kicker class, and we want to, the mockup shows this as all caps, so I'm going to put in a text transform as uppercase, and that way it can easily be changed so that the content doesn't have to be forced into this. We can just make this a CSS change so that if we ever decide, you know what, we don't like uppercase, I want it to be all lowercase, we don't have to change the content. Or if we want it to be in like your title case, you can just use your, not title case I guess, but capital case. Capitalize is another option of text transform. So that just, I definitely prefer to use text transforms whenever possible, just so that the content can be protected and we can just write the content the way that we want to, that is natural to us, and then we can mess with it to fit the design. So that's our first thing. The other thing we want is we want this to be just a little bit of a smaller font. So I'm going to do a font size of, instead of programming it, let's actually make this, I wonder if we could do that, where basically it's going to inherit, right now it's inheriting the font size. And if we use an EM, we could say like make it like 0.8, so like 80% of, like, if your normal font size is this and we do a 0.8 M, it should take that parent or whatever, that font size that it's inheriting, it should make it like 20% less than that. So let's save and let's watch it change, if at all. Refresh here. So come on, there we go. Okay, so now we can see it is all caps now. And if I inspect this just to see what the text size is, let's get rid of this. 0.8 is working. So if I look at like right here, what's our font size? Probably is just the, I think I said it 1 rem. That's my typical, or maybe it's just the default even. So we could see, let's just change it so that you can see this. I feel like this is kind of a cool typography trick. A lot of times, all caps things are at like an 80% of your standard font, especially if it's inside of the text. Like sometimes we'll put a little bit of an all caps like intro for the first word or first couple words in a paragraph, just to indicate that this is where you kind of enter the text. It's usually actually, I think, 70% of the font width or the font height, the font size. And so maybe we can just try making this 0.7. So yeah, you can see it gets a little bit smaller, and it's based off of whatever the body, I guess, yeah, the body font size is, which I think, yeah, I've not set it, and I don't actually know what the default font size is for the web. Probably it's 16 pixels, I would guess. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting a little lost in the details. I love typography, so I love looking at that. So, but we can see that this is now 70% of whatever our body text is, because we can see it kind of shrinking the more we change this up. So if we change this to like half, that to me looks about correct. So anyway, we've got our kicker now. I am going to stop here, I think. So I think we've covered a lot of ground. This has been really cool. There's still some things that need work. So we've got some padding issues. We've got our links that are way too long. We've got some hovering issues. And there's some stuff that I need to take care of on the back end, which is making things a little bit more dynamic, and also swapping some of our HTML structure as far as the classes. So you can count on that for next time. Certainly these links we're going to copy Bootstrap. I mean, that's what we've been doing this whole time, is deconstructing Bootstrap. And I'm going to continue to lean on their wisdom from all the years of beating that into submission, our structure. So yeah, I'm going to follow their lead and put in that nav item class on the li itself, and then adding in another one for the text as like nav title. So yeah, we're making some progress though. I think this is starting to really shape up to be pretty nice, and we're kind of there on this content section. We do need to figure out this little indicator right here, this little callback to the same nav item, or sorry, icon. should be the same. And then we need a couple of components. We've got some downloads and buttons and stuff. So we've got some stuff to work on, but for the most part, we're probably like, I don't know, a third of the way there. So I'm really pleased. So I'm really grateful also for you joining me again. I hope